And you're welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. It is still iBrand Day Break. We are here with two gentlemen. I'm talking about Ubong Thompson and Henry Igwebike. You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming around again.
Thanks for
thank you for having me.
We have continued to have this conversation in the past. It's a beautiful thing that we're here to, take it further. I mean, talking about Governor Umo Eno A.R.I.S.E Agenda. We stopped off somewhere. And I believe that was at the point where we were looking at the formation of his cabinet and, the choice of commissioners and all. But I'd like for us to start off this way. The Governor Umo Eno A.R.I.S.E Agenda, how far? How has it been so far?
Well, I'd like to say so far the A.R.I.S.E agenda is still on course. But the fact that after the Akwa dialogue, they had an extensive discussion on pertinent issues and developmental projects that will suit the taste of the state. And with the assembly of professionals and experts from different fields, they made an input into the already made blueprint that was presented by the governor. So at the point that we are now, we are waiting to see the report of the harmonized dialogue that was held, so that from there we expect the governor to start the actual implementation. However, without waiting for the report, we understand the governor is doing his best in tune with the A.R.I.S.E agenda, blueprint. A lot of projects is being carried out, like building of model schools. About 3 or 4 model schools have been awarded contract to be built, and then revamping of some maternity clinics in the state. Then we also see road construction in some, deplorable streets that have been left for so many years, but the governor has, in his own wisdom, has taken into the field by making sure that those streets are being constructed. And then we've also seen governor making efforts in other sectors. Presently we are expecting the governor's cup, which is aimed at bringing out the youth, and then engaging them in some activities, at the state level, local government level, and then at the ward level. So there are some activities that have been going on in tune with the A.R.I.S.E agenda. So we are, as an advocacy group, we are yearning for more, because we believe, since the governor has already had the blueprint, the implementation would have been head on. Despite the dialogue that was held, we believe there are still some projects that need to commence without necessarily waiting for the report to come out. So I think so far the governor is doing his best, and we are expecting other, citizens of the state. I do mention that one man alone cannot make a forest. We have other ties of government. The local government chairman, they are there. The state assembly men, they are there. The federal House of Rep members, they are there. The senators, they are all there. And the commissioners, so they all need to come together to play, a very, very important part in making sure that they deliver dividends of democracy to the people.
All right, you've spoken quite handsomely about the governor, but definitely we still have to look at other areas, which I'm going to throw the question now to Mr. Henry to respond. Yes, he has mentioned the issue of education, revamping schools, which is very critical, especially when it comes to building up a state. Now he has mentioned revamping of the roads, rehabilitation of the roads, especially roads that have been very much in a sorry state. Mm-hmm. But of course, there are still other projects that are required to build a state. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the SMEs, okay, because these are very critical, sectors that really drive an economy. Now we're looking at a state, for instance. So much has been talked about the A.R.I.S.E agenda. To me, it looks like a more of a pepper them gang thing. let's just put 1 or 2 structures in place and let people know that, yes, this is a new sheriff in town. Then after a while, like he said, they went into negotiations, they went into dialogue, yet we have not gotten an outcome as regards that. Tell me, what exactly does he have as a plan to be able to make sure that that state really flourishes in terms of creating an enabling environment for SMEs to start springing up in order for them to be able to gainfully employ the youth and take them out of the streets?
Yes, I think that's an interesting question. First off, I love to say, as an advocacy group, we are like the third eye, okay, of whatever critical mission and interest we intend to go into. And it's often said, to whom more is given, much is expected. His Excellency, Pastor Umo Eno has done quite well, but we still believe that there's still so much he is supposed to do that he hasn't done yet. But going back to your question on enabling SMEs, most recently His Excellency took a facility tour of Songhai farms in yes, where some group of Chinese people actually created what I would call a hybrid farm. It's the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, and His Excellency took a facility tour of that place. Now, the reason he went there was to understudy what's happening there, with the hope of duplicating such infrastructure in the state. Now, coming back home, in his intelligence, he went as far as desiring to have a representative from each local government, okay, as an intern in that farm. Now, the reason he is doing that is such that there would be a duplication of what happens in that farm in every local government, and that is the SME growth that we're talking about when it comes to that sector is more expected. Yes, more is expected. As an advocacy group, we feel that is even so minuscule. It's small with respect to what is expected when it comes to agriculture in 2023. For us, we would rather say it will be better if His Excellency would rather prioritize and commercialize. What am I speaking about? Every economy has a mainstay, for example, when it comes to agriculture, like it's done in other parts of the world. What leaders in such parts of the world would rather say is ask themselves this rhetoric question: what is our mainstay when it comes to agriculture? For Akwa Ibom State, cassava production is one of their mainstay. Right now, we would have loved a situation where His Excellency would say, in the next 4 years of my administration, I'd love to ensure that Akwa Ibom State becomes the highest or the largest producers of cassava in not just Nigeria but sub-Saharan Africa, such that the whole world would know Akwa Ibom State for cassava production. Do you know how robust the economy would grow in having that mission? Right? So for us, he has done so well. It's ingenious, but it's not as well as we expect, because a jack of all trades is actually the master of none. So why not prioritize and commercialize?
Good.
Yeah, so that is what we expect that would do if in the agricultural ecosystem, SMEs in that sector can do well and become sustainable.
Now, my next question will stem from what he said. I want you to still answer it.
Okay.
Because he said you cannot play at all fields.
Yeah.
You need the incorporation and support of both the local government chairman and of course the legislature and of course the judiciary and all of that. But you're also aware the current way governance is run in this country, especially at the state level, the governor controls almost everything in terms of the revenue that comes from the local government. So to a great extent, pardon my use of word, at most times, the chairmen sometimes are in their pocket.
Okay.
So how can a governor be able to operate in terms of allowing persons who he wants to come into that space to be able to use their wherewithal to grow that particular sector? For instance, when you talk about privatizing, when they come in to privatize, what is the enabling environment you're giving to them? Because you're talking about private sectors coming in. So it's no longer government having, business in business. Now it's thrown to the private sector. So what is the enabling environment? What's the ecosystem for private sector to come in, make sure that that sector blooms, and then creates an environment where there is an employment?
Yes.
That's my question.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And I'd love to reminisce on the leadership structure of Akwa Ibom State. Akwa Ibom State is one of those states where I would say fairly they have had leaders in positions of authority who have done so well when you juxtapose them with other leaders in that geopolitical zone. Let me give you a very simple example. In the last administration, His Excellency, the past governor, was able to take up a particular sector, travels and tour.
Okay.
He established Ibom Air from nothing, something the nation couldn't even do for 8 years. This man was able to do it for 4 years, and today Ibom Air is the fastest growing airline in Nigeria. That is an example of what a purposeful leadership can do. And he is able to look around and ask himself, who is the best person to take over that? And that was how Pastor Umo Eno was brought into the picture. Now, we equally want to believe that the same strata is going to continue when it comes to leadership in that sector. What we want to believe is a situation where there would be an autonomy of leadership, which already he is having right now. Delegation of responsibilities. Now, if you take a look at the way governance is right now, though it is still in its infancy, but what we have observed so far is there is so much delegation of responsibility. Everybody is becoming responsible when it comes to the grassroots. Even the chiefs and the traditional rulers and all, everybody is becoming responsible.
And what level of responsibility? Tell me about that when it comes to those traditional rulers.
Yes, the level of responsibility is ensuring that every stakeholder in that local grassroots takes up a particular responsibility, that they follow suit and ensure that it is done. For example, when it comes to agriculture, for example, right, they ensure that if there are opportunities for SMEs in the agri sector to do well, they ensure that they drive home that. They ensure that there are people who go there to monitor and ensure that whatever it is coming from the center gets to them. So that is what has been done so far.
My question is,
yes,
I want you to be very specific.
Okay.
When you talk about those who are the traditional rulers, they know the indigents.
Yes.
So at the level of recruitment, who sends the list of persons who would get what in terms of employment?
Okay.
Is it going to be a middleman coming in place to hijack the juicy positions for their own self? At the end of the day, you say the governor is providing job. Or is it a case where the traditional rulers who are directly interfacing with the indigents submit lists of these are our children who we want to run these things based on their expertise? Now,
a very good example, like the farm that he intends to have representatives from each local government as trainees in that particular farm. Now, the question is, how was that process done? The process is done in such a way that the best agripreneur SME is the one that is selected. It's not just picking anybody because they are my favorite. No. We are not just picking someone who is in the technology ecosystem. No, it has to be someone in the agri sector, an agripreneur, someone who is already doing what has been called out for. So that is basically how the selection process is done. So what we as an advocacy group is asking and praying for is for those individuals who have been selected to ensure that the money spent on them in training would be replicated in the places they are expected to have it done.
All right. It's been 100 days. A lot of persons who were sworn into office as at the same time that Governor Umo Eno was sworn into office celebrated 100 days in office a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What has been the body language of the indigenes of Akwa Ibom State, what has the acceptance been like, and at what extent have their expectations been met? I know that the last time we were gathered in this room having this conversation, we ended it with that Governor Umo Eno has, stated this, and we're hoping that by 100 days in office, we're able to have, tangible stuff that we're looking at. Have we been able to get to that point where we're saying, okay, so in 100 days, this is what he has done? I know that you've mentioned a couple of things, and that also brings me to the next question, which is his government centered around agriculture? Because I haven't heard, if my co-host didn't mention SMEs, I probably wouldn't have heard it by the end of this conversation. And at the end of the day, we drove SMEs down to agriculture again. Meanwhile, entrepreneurship and SMEs is a hydra-headed beast that has a lot of arms to it. Are we centering on agriculture when it comes to Governor Umo Eno and Akwa Ibom State, or should there be more to be expected?
Well, I would like to say that in that particular instances, we have other sector that has been exploited, and the governor is doing enough in those various sectors. As I just mentioned when we were just starting, I said even in the sports sector, you are going to witness a situation where some youth are being brought together to compete in various activities, and that is to add to their, to their empowerment in one way or the other. Sport also empowers, the people, is a form of empowering the people, because at the end of the day, talent will be discovered, and you will see some signing in the case of footballing, and athletes, will be, penned down for national assignments or international assignments, and then so that area can also, act as a form of empowerment to the people in that sports sector.
So sorry to cut you short, when you say that, is it an expectation? Is something that is part of the plan? Is it part of the plan? Have we heard it from verifiable sources that this is part of Governor Umo's plan for when it comes to sports sector?
Yeah, it's not only a plan, it's being actualized as we speak.
Okay.
Something like that is going on at the state level. So a date has been scheduled, and the program will take effect. So that area has been, properly handled. And then when we talk of the ICT sector, we understand the state has some, facilities that can accommodate the ITC development at the state level. Worthy to mention is the e-library, and we are looking at a situation where the e-library, environment can be transformed into a place like computers, computer village in Lagos, where a lot of activities is going on. People in trading will be empowered, in their trade activities, and then people that will carry out repairs, they will be there. People that will do programming, you will find them there, and then in different areas, so we are looking at, and we are also calling on the government to, work with the commissioner for science and industry, should bring out a format where that edifice can be transformed into, an employment generating outfit. So there we believe we'll be able to, bring in some empowerment to the people.
Okay.
So,
you're done?
yeah.
All right. So when you talked about the sports events, quite nice, I must say, because you're going to be looking out for the youths. Is it a one-off event? If not, why? And what is his understanding about the local clubs in that state? What is he going to do about it in terms of revamping those local clubs to make it sure that, yes, you might say, okay, the sport event might just pick one or two persons, give them, state assignment, give them international assignment, as you said, but this is just maybe one or two selections. What is he going to be doing to the local clubs in that state? Because I hear of some governors who try to invest into the local, club for people who are youths who want to go into this club to get signed. What is he doing about it?
I think in the sports sector, the facilities has been laid already, because as it stands, we have about 3 major stadia.
Okay.
In the States. We have, the renowned stadia of Goswell Akpabio International Stadium. Then we have Uyo Township Stadium. Then we have Eket Township Stadium as well. So all these facilities are being put in place by, successive government. And for Pastor Umo Eno to have come in, we believe he's going to leverage on all those, facilities that have been put down. So we expect to see enough of investment in the capacity building of the youth in the sports sector, and the opening up the environment. We also see that the governor is also encouraging the local government chairmen, in their various local government to come up with sports stadia. That is in the aspect of providing facility for the sportsmen and women at the state level. So the governor, as we know, is a lover of sports, and in his magnanimity, we believe he's going to invest a lot in that sector by making sure that these facilities are being made use of intermittently at all time. There should be sporting activities, sport festival being held at the state level, where all the wards or the villages, will participate in different sporting events, so that at the end of the day, the governor can identify with the winners and also encourage them. So, and also make sure that these sporting events can be held maybe yearly or every 2 years, or as might be decided by the state executive. So we believe he's going to leverage on all those opportunities and the facility that is being put in place.
All right, quickly, for the want of time, because we're rounding off now. You are the person who is in direct contact, the advocacy group that you work with. We are here in Lagos, but you're the one that goes home and you hear people's conversations, in the pubs. You're the person that sits in a mass transit and you're hearing what people are saying. You feel the pulse mostly. That is what I'm trying to say. What are the things that you think Governor Umo Eno can put in place for a better, improved relationship and governance of the people of Akwa Ibom?
I think going back to what the people are saying, I think we would, as an advocacy group, just like I did say, we are like the lens of the society, and to be honest to you, it's a divided thought. Some are encouraged by what he is doing, while others are not that too comfortable. And the desire is to get people who are not comfortable to become comfortable. And how can that be made possible? It can only be made possible when there is a pragmatic approach to the laid down blueprint that has been taught about pre-elections. Right? We all understand the bureaucratic nature of governance in this country. And I want to believe that the world is a global village. We're no longer in the 70s and the 60s where we think or we believe that whatever we do here is different from what is done outside. We want to see a situation where there is this proactive approach to policies, right? So if there's a policy mapped out for something, the bureaucratic bottlenecks should be reduced to the barest, so people can start seeing the dividends of democracy, right? So if, for instance, there's need to quickly enhance entrepreneurship, for example, in a particular sector, instead of waiting to have lots of people coming to dialogue about it, coming to debate about it, why not just hit the ground running and
hit the ground running? Are you
Yes.
talking about a state of emergency?
Yes, exactly. I think we should get to that level where governors should start declaring state of emergency on some industries, yes,
sectors.
and ask themselves, is it possible for us to achieve this between this time and this time? Because what are we talking about? We're talking about good life for the people. That's the reason why they were chosen in the first place. They were chosen because they felt that in 9 million people, he is the best suited person to lead these people. So if he is selected to be the best suited person, so is it not advisable for him to lead that particular ship and ensure that they get the best of life, right? So that is our expectation, that those who are not yet comfortable with what is happening would begin to get comfortable with proactive approach to leadership governance from all stakeholders in the system.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen Henry Igwebike and Ubam Thompson, for dropping by the studio today. We really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
hopefully,
you so
of
much.
course, as the office of the governor progresses, we'll get to have more conversations around it.
Definitely.
Until then, have yourself a very great day ahead.
Same here.
All right, it is still iBrandTV. We will go on a quick break, and when we return, we will bring a conversation that I'm sure Josh will be very interested in. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.